I don't think you're ready for this. Of all the blasters I have reviewed on this channel, of all the cool stuff that I have shown you and yet to show you, this may be the most revolutionary. What I have here today encapsulates everything I love about this hobby. Brilliant engineering, solving a problem that basically nobody but me had, and on the outside it looks absolutely brilliant, and on the inside it's both stupidly complex and so easy I wonder why nobody else has done it before. And perhaps somebody else has and failed, where Domochevsky has succeeded, because what I have here is bar none the greatest NERF shotgun that you can get your hands on in the hobby right now, and it's a beta unit. You can purchase it, I will have a link to the Etsy and everything down below, but it is still very early days. For the, we'll translate it, it means rail cleaner, and I think we'll go with that name because, yeah, I'm not gonna even try to pronounce that. This is one of the biggest and chunkiest 3D printed blasters I have ever got my hands on, and I really don't want to know how long something like this takes to print. The files will be available for purchase eventually, but right now, this is one of a few of them in the world, and I think I'm one of the only content creators that has their hands on this thing right now. And what exactly is this thing? Well, as I alluded to, it's a shotgun. It actually uses a cylinder and its own customized shell that holds 4 darts. And this crazy thing is also one-handed. You can dual wield this blaster if you chose. And what do you think propels the blaster? Do you think it's a massive spring load in here, maybe an automatic plunger? Nope, it's an incredibly simple setup that's done in an incredibly unique way. You simply pull back on the hammer right here above the grip, and then you pull the trigger to fire. Pulling back the hammer starts a pair of flywheels and rotates the cylinder. And then you pull the trigger, and it fires some darts. And it fires 4 darts, almost to rival ranges. That right there is one of the most useful shotguns I can imagine. The only thing that even comes close, in my opinion, is of course the Boomco. What is that thing called? The Boomco Burst Wave. It shot 4 Boomco darts that kind of distance, and yet that was an air-powered blaster. This thing is a flywheeler. It can basically fire as fast as you can pull down this hammer, and again, that means you can dual wield this blaster. But I found another way you can do it. If you want to use this thing two-handed, you can fire it a little bit faster just by indexing the cylinder with your thumb. Not only does that rotate the cylinder, but it also starts the flywheels up at the same time, because this thing's a piece of beautiful German magic. Four darts. That was 20 darts right there. And then when you want to reload, well, I did mention this thing's 3D printed, and the tolerances aren't exactly the best quite yet. That's fine, because that was still good enough. You can eject your empty shells and simply pop in new ones. This isn't exactly the fastest process ever, but it does in fact work, and it works rather well. A heck of a lot quicker than trying to load these darts individually by themselves into any kind of cylinder. And I think one of the scariest things about the rail cleaner here is that the creator hasn't really been in the hobby all that long. They've really only made 2 things that I know of, the rail cleaner being one of them, and the other I'll show off in a future video, so make sure you subscribe. But as you can tell, there's exposed wiring on the side of it, which honestly, I don't see how you couldn't fit that wiring somewhere in here, but it seems like it was kind of an afterthought, and that's okay because it should be fixed in the future. A lot of things should be changed in the future. But I know, just by the fact that these flywheels are 3D printed and the motors are just out of Dart's Valkyries, which aren't exactly top-end motors, they're actually a budget option, this thing could hit a heck of a lot harder, or so I think. The rail cleaner is so stupidly simple, it's mind-numbing how this hasn't been done before. You see, it's really just two big flywheels right there. The shell holds the darts in this kind of 4-stacked block position, and when you pull the trigger, it just pushes the 4 darts into the flywheels. That means 4 darts kind of bunch up like this together and then get squeezed between 2 flywheels and then get flung out as fast as they possibly can. I think I might be hitting a little bit harder than Domochevsky's testing because I use Adventure Force waffles and that's something that he doesn't have access to. Speaking of which, if you want to get one of these beautiful shirts, you only have a couple of days left to do so, because after October 18th, I will be changing this design out for a new one, and you'll get to see that in the very near future. But of course, there's a lot more going on right here. When you pull back the hammer, it rotates a massive cylinder, and the hammer prime is exceptionally light, which is super cool, and starts up some flywheels. And then when you pull the trigger, it stops the flywheels and you fling darts out. The darts are actually coming out of the blaster while the flywheels are spinning down. That's just crazy how good it still is. And those are 3D printed flywheels. Imagine if they were machined flywheels, like the ones I have coming from Fatwurst. Those will be here in hopefully a couple of weeks, and at the same time I get those, I plan on upgrading these motors. So stay tuned, because I'm going to see exactly how far we can get with this thing. If I can hit 20% better than what I already have, that's basically overpowered. I can just pop around a corner and hit anybody in front of me without even trying. And that's the beauty of a blaster like this. You don't have to be exposed for very long to launch 4 darts in an unpredictable, undodgeable pattern. And this thumb screw right here, if I undo that, pull that apart, the battery's located in there, and it is a huge battery tray. I have a 2300 milliamp hour battery in there. That thing will power it for pretty much forever. There's a cool little top-mounted voltmeter right here, which is out of your way if you're actually trying to aim down the sights or something like that, but gives you a readout on all the cells in your battery, which is important so you don't kill any of your batteries, and will beep if your battery gets too low. To eject the cylinder, you simply pull back on this lever right here, and the cylinder pops out, and again, it holds 6 of those 4 dart shells for a total capacity of 24, and you can just kind of slap it back into place. Although it is 3D printed, there's some obvious hardware in there to make sure that it's somewhat rigid, but that's something you should be careful of, and sometimes it doesn't automatically latch closed. And this lever up here is actually something you wouldn't expect to find, and shows how much thought went into the design of this blaster. That's actually a decocking lever, so when I prime the hammer back, the cylinder is going to rotate and the flywheels will start. When I pull up on this lever, the cylinder is going to rotate back and the flywheels are going to stop. Absolutely genius. And yeah, this thing sounds like a lawnmower because 3D printed flywheels aren't that great, and yet it hits as hard as it does. And who knows what this platform is capable of? That is the most important thing I want to drive home about this. Whatever Domochevsky has made here works, and this should be usable in other setups. It could potentially have tighter flywheels that would make more power or more spread or something like that. But I think the most exciting prospect is what else can be done with this kind of system, and in my mind, potentially a lot. For instance, there's really no reason why something can't be done to make this full auto. The indexing, flywheels, and everything like that, that could all be done with electronics. You may need to do something clever with micro switches or have some kind of computer on board that can do the timing, but that is an exciting prospect for a blaster. And what about the cylinder? Do we absolutely have to have a cylinder on it? Potentially, you could have a magazine on here that could hold like 20 of the shells or something like that, full auto and eject them in some fashion. Again, that is possible. I'm not going to say it's likely, but it is possible. This opens up a lot of avenues for a lot of new blaster designs. And I'm really hoping that Domochevsky figures out how to do all of that, because this thing is mind-blowingly awesome. Usually when I get to review a blaster like this, it's kind of forgivable if it doesn't have the best range or anything like that. It's a shotgun. Case point, look at my review of the Foma Nature. But at this point, even right now, this blaster is completely war-worthy and HVZ legal. Now, of course, I haven't chronographed this because it's shooting 4 darts, but at the same time, I don't think I need to. There's no way this thing's breaking any kind of FPS limit. It shoots just enough harder than like a trilogy to make sense, with an extra dart and way faster firing. And all of this is subject to change. This is a beta unit. If you want to get one just like this, that will work exactly like this, there will be a link to Domochevsky's Etsy down below, and also a link to his Twitter where you can keep up on any kind of progress he's made on this platform. That being said, exposed wire, a lot of fat could be trimmed on this, a lot of things could be changed to make it a little bit more ergonomic and sexy, and I expect that to be coming as more people get their hands on the files. He will be selling the files in the future, and those files should be pretty attractive, because what I'm looking at inside this blaster doesn't seem to have anything really proprietary when it comes to function. Maybe the hardest part is the diameter of the rod used to hold the cylinder in place. Everything else seems incredibly simple. Just some basic springs and screws, nothing that should be unobtainable pretty much anywhere in the world. And this thing, its future is so bright. The rail cleaner is one of the most exciting blasters I've seen, and just proves that 2020, for our hobby at least, even though most of us aren't playing right now, 2021, as soon as the world opens back up, stuff like this is really going to change how people play. Domochevsky, I can't wait to see what other crazy ideas you have knocking around in that head of yours, but this is one of my highest recommendations for anybody who wants to shotgun in the hobby. And did I mention already? I maybe only mentioned it a couple of times, but it is dual wieldable. But if you think I'm wrong, I'm willing to hear your arguments down below in that comment section, so let me know what you think about the rail cleaner, and most importantly, let Domochevsky know what you think about his beautiful baby here, because I absolutely love it. I'm Walcom S7, thank you so very much for watching this video and experiencing this beautiful blaster with me. If you want to pick up your own Adventure Shot waffle shirt, make sure you check out the link down in the description, or in the card in the top right corner, or in the pinned comment down below. And of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different video, and you're going to want to stay tuned. I have like 4 or 5 different 3D printed blasters that are all amazing. A couple you've probably never even seen before coming to this channel. Next week, I'm going to be more busy than I can imagine. And I can't wait. I cannot wait! You gotta